Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 18 of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. If you're tuning in for the first time and you're thinking, who are these strange-looking people on my screen right now? We are a weekly comic book club for people who like to read comics. And every week we choose a different comic book story arc or a volume. We read along together, and then we meet up once a week via a live stream to record the podcast and share our thoughts and have a discussion about that book. If you want to find out more information, just hit the link in the description on whichever platform you're on right now, and you should find all of the other platforms and social media stuff right there. So this week, we're going to dive straight into it, folks. This week, we are reading, let me find my button. My button has gone. We are reading Canto from 2019. This was published by IDW, and it was written by David Booher and Drew Zucker, and I think this was 6 issues in total, folks. So there we go. That is what we are going to be discussing today. And as usual, I am joined by my awesome co-hosts, same people every week, with addition of one. Those watching live will see right now. Those people are Phil from Phil's Nerdyverse on YouTube.
Ahoy, hoy.
We have Shane from Dawn of Comics on YouTube.
Hello.
We have Scott from Scott Shelf here on YouTube.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
And we have our special guest, the person that picked this book last week, the reason why we've been reading it. We've got Sean from @NoobComics on Instagram.
Even the peeps.
Hey.
God, it sounds like we're giving him a slow clap there. Right, folks, we haven't got time for chit-chat. I've got a feeling it's going to be a lengthy one today, longer than usual. So let's just get into it and meet the herd real quickly and see who we've got participating in this episode. We've got Tom from This Month in Movie saying, evening, hope you're all well. We've got Liam Cartwright joining us, evening, everyone. Howdy to you, Liam. We have, I'm scrolling down here, we've got our friend Firehawk. Hello, hello. Howdy to you, Firehawk. I hope you're well. Comic Deal is here as well. Is this comic based on that Scottish Star Trek fellow? I can't do it, Captain. Oh, James. I'm not sure whether you're getting better or worse, mate.
It's getting worse, man.
It's
gone planned for Saturday night. It's 100 times worse than that. It's
gone past the point where I can tell now whether it's getting better or not. We also have MJ Comics in the house here as well. What's up, my dudes? We have Samuel Taylor joining us. Howdy, Sam. Hope you're well, my friend. Johnny Funko. Hey, friends. How you doing, Johnny? We have Amy with us as well. Hey, guys and dolls. Howdy to you, Amy. Hope you are good. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anyone out here. We've got Martin McFadden. Hi, everyone. And we have Beth joining us, saying hello too. Perpetual Comics. Oh, if you want to keep Sean, you are more than welcome. He makes a good cup of tea. That's what Andy's saying there.
Perfect.
We'll
How about a cup of
coffee.
coffee?
What about a whiskey? Do you like any whiskey cocktails?
Whiskey's all I drink, mate. So yeah,
That's good. Yeah, we really well.
If I have missed anybody there in the chat, I do apologize. Just shout at me in the chat if I have missed you, and we'll say hello properly. So that's what we're reading. Those are the people taking part in the in this episode today. So as always, we're going to start off. We need a brief synopsis to tell people what this is about. And Sean, seeing as you picked it, we let the guest give the synopsis. So do you want to use a brief rundown?
Yeah. So basically, Canto is in slavery along with the rest of his people, and they have no hearts. They're replaced with clocks. And during an event that happens, his love gets injured and the clock has to be replaced. Unfortunately, it can't be replaced by another clock. So he then goes off in search of the hearts that were taken from them. And it's all about his journey and his travels during the course of that. And yeah, it's general synopsis of it.
I think you did really good there, mate. I think you hit the nail on the head with that synopsis. And we are also honored to have another guest here today that may be able to tell us a little bit more about Canto itself. So please, he wanted to come and say hi to everyone. So please welcome to the show, everybody, the co-creator and writer of Canto, David Booher.
Hey.
Hello, David.
Hey. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. This is exciting.
Our pleasure, my friend. Pleasure.
Yeah,
So tell us more about Canto, David. Tell us more, please. Please tell us more, sir.
I mean, Sean, you did a really good job of summarizing. I can give you my little spiel about it if you want.
Yes, please.
A little bit better than mine, so yeah.
So I like to say it's about a little tin hero in search of a heart. So Canto's people have been enslaved. They're not allowed to have names. They're not allowed to love one another. They're not allowed to tell stories. When they're taken, their hearts are removed and replaced with clocks. When their time is up, they go into the furnaces. But Canto defies all of that. He's in love with a little tin girl. And when her clock gets damaged beyond repair, he has to go out in his great, big, fantastical world to find where they take their hearts to bring hers back to save her. So what I like to say, it's part fantasy, part adventure, and all heart.
David, you've done this before, haven't
you? Sean, you get a pass. I've done it a couple times.
Of course.
So, just a quick question then, to start off the conversation with you, David. I would like to know, for me personally, when I was reading this, how did all of the ideas come about for this? Like, how did they manifest in your brain?
It's all just beautiful chaos up there. So Drew actually came to me with a design for this character, and we had been wanting to work together for a long time, and he had sort of an idea of who this character might be, and he approached me and said, do you want to collaborate on this? So it was a collaboration right from the very start. He sent it to me, and I said, oh, within probably a millisecond, I saw his design, which is right over my shoulder here. That's not the original one, but it was similar to that. And I saw it, and within a second, I said, I don't know who this character is. I don't know what his story is, but we are definitely telling it. So that's what, and we started off right from there. He brought Inferno, Dante's Inferno, sort of that sensibility. I brought Wizard of Oz. I loved it. If you can see behind me, I might pull it out of the shelf. That is a 1901 copy of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
Now I have to pull it. Now I have to pull it out.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, so
don't drop it. Don't drop it.
I know, right?
So, David, when Drew approached you then with the character design, did it already have a name at that point as well, the character, or did that come later? No.
That came later, and it's obviously based, inspired by Inferno. So it's kind of like this is the perfect mashup, I think, when we did Canto, If I Only Had a Heart. It's like that's our inspirations are right there. Yeah, but I like to tell the story too. When I was 12 years old, I bought this very copy of The Wizard of Oz at my local public library during a used book sale. And so
wow.
I've had it for, I'm not going to tell you how many years, but a number.
9 years.
2, 3, 4 years.
Wow. And that's not 1901 that book's from.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's like a third printing, 1901. I love it because it's got like, you can see like water stains. It always kind of gives me the willies when I, look at old like children's books and they're pristine. It's like, what happened to the kid who owned it?
Yes, I'm with you there all the way.
They were never read.
Yeah, so this one was well loved. It continues to be well loved.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big fan of old books and stuff myself. And I heard you're a big Stephen King fan as well, aren't you?
Yeah, if I tilted my computer even more, I've got a whole floor-to-ceiling shelf full of Stephen King. I mean, I was reading Stephen King before. If my parents knew how young I was, they would be horrified.
You can see me pointing sort of over there. I'm exactly the same. And directly on top is an old book as well of Peter Pan that I was given when I was a child.
Wow.
From my grandparents. It's my most treasured item in the house. The house got burnt down. As long as that's safe, I'm happy. That's exactly what I've got over there. Is a whole of shelves of Stephen King books, and then the Peter Pan book on top.
Oh my God! There you go.
I'll just sit in there.
Twinsies.
I love it.
I think Tom from This Month in Movies is a fan. Stephen King for the win. Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, actually, I'm rereading Lisi's story right now, which was like mid 2000s, because it's coming out on, I forget which service, but Julianne Moore is going to star in the TV show. So,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Should be a good fit for that.
Or if it's
See-
half as good as The Stand, then it'll be good.
Now that we've moved on to TV shows, do you envisage Canto becoming a TV show, animated, live action, or movie? It's got to. It's got to.
I can't imagine that this little guy right
Oh.
here would make a good animated TV show.
Stop. That's so
God.
awesome.
This is a 3D printed, for everybody watching, this is a 3D printed sort of custom thing that a fan did in Canada. It's very cool.
Stunning.
Very cool.
He could make money
Gosh.
off them.
Yeah, really good.
We just have a comment here from Amy, who's saying, I loved Wizard of Oz when I was a kid, literally grew up on it, and I love how glimpses of it show up in Canto.
Yeah.
There we go. It's a nice comment.
Thank you. That's great. Yes, of course, we would love to see Canto become movable, animated. We'll see. We're really focused right now on making the best comic we can possibly make, and if the opportunity comes along to adapt it into another form, we'll make that the best that we can possibly make it. And of course,
I'm just going to go on record right now, David, and say, Netflix, if you're watching, pay this man lots of money right now.
It's so funny. The challenge with Netflix is Dark Crystal, and it just unfortunately it didn't do that well. So for them, time heals all wounds. So there may still be an opportunity.
How about yourself personally? Would you like to see at some point crossover into that visual kind of space?
Yeah, I think Drew and I definitely envision it as a film as we go along, to potentially sort of structurally similar to like a Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, yeah.
I was thinking at the old 70s Lord of the Rings cartoon, the very long one. That would work quite well looking like that. Yeah.
Whenever I read comics, I always listen to like a soundtrack of a movie. And it's usually anything Hans Zimmer, but for Canto, I actually was listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack.
Wow, you were?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Perfect.
Is she really?
Yeah.
In fact, it's just like The Dark Side of the Moon. If you read it in the right... No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to go and try this at the weekend then. I was all ready to go. So I have to ask you as well, David, what we got you here as well. Like you just said, this book has a whole lot of heart, which it does. And did you and Drew, when you got together to do this, did you feel that was going to come through in the page? Like, was that there originally? Like you said, if we're going to write this, we've got the character design, it has to have heart. Like, was it a conscious decision, or did that just naturally flow when you were writing?
Do you mean like actual quest for heart, or because it sort of was both? It was there both as like a heart, uplifting, hopeful story. We started out, we wanted to tell that kind of story, and I made a decision very early on in the process that this tiny character is so cute that he cannot go on a quest to help himself. His quest has to be fully motivated by his desire to help somebody else. And I think as an audience member and as a reader, I automatically feel more supportive of that character because it's a very selfless quest that he's going on. So that was a very conscious decision right out of the gate, was let's make the quest about, him helping somebody else. And so every step of the way you fear for him because he might make the ultimate sacrifice for somebody else's well-being.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's that vulnerability for me. That's what got me, the vulnerability of that character, of him being so small, but yet trying to be so brave in a kind of big, scary world. Like I can't not help but be pulled into that,
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked if he was a big strapping knight. Even word for word and the same story, it wouldn't have worked if he was just too capable. He had to be kind of small and helpless, didn't he? Yeah.
Innocent. Yeah.
And I just want to give some credit here as well. Like the eyes on these characters are phenomenal to me. Like I've never seen such a simple touch, yet so emotionally effective when you look into those eyes.
So much emotion through a helmet, through a knight's helmet.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be possible, but it's there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, that's Drew's entire doing. That was the big challenge, is you can only see a quarter of his face or a third of his face from the eyes up. How do you convey emotion? I think size plus his eyes, his expressive eyes really sell it.
Yeah. Was emotion a big conversation between you and Drew throughout all of this then? So if Drew was drawing, you were doing the writing stuff, were you kind of coming together and saying, oh, this needs to have more heartfelt emotion there, or visually and writing wise, or was it something that just naturally kind of came together without those conversations? So
we Drew and I talk almost on a daily basis as he's working on this. We've gotten to be really close friends, and I write it in the script. I'll write the panel description, and I'll say, he's devastated in this panel, or he's confused, or he's fearful, or he's defiant, whatever. And then Drew translates that to the character design in the panels.
So well done. It's really good.
Yeah. My favorite panel was the defiant panel. That's what I sent over, wasn't it? Him being defiant, just standing in front of those. Do you have the pictures?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've got it here. I said to you, select your favorite pieces of the book there, and I think that was yours, wasn't it, Shane?
Yeah,
your favorite.
I just thought it just portrayed the character so well.
Yeah,
it's like he just gets beaten down and stands up, and his face is just like, bring it. It's like, whatever. I love it.
We had a comment that came in when that exact panel, Shane, that you're talking about. One of Drew's friends, I think, messaged him and said that he wanted to do that line as a tattoo. I don't know if it ever happened, but I'm like, okay.
Wow.
David, I've got a question. Like so you put a lot of Wizard of Oz, references and stuff into the book, and you said earlier Drew was more of the Dante's Inferno kind of thing. Was it difficult merging the two, or was it okay? How was it?
I wouldn't say. Well, I guess I'll put it this way. I don't know if I would describe our approach to it as merging the two stories. It's more about taking the things that we loved from each story. And I mean, Dante's Inferno is a very heavy read to get through, but then I would read it, and then I would get to an image, and I thought, there's these Furies that are like rending their chests and like ripping their skin off and stuff, and it's just, you get to that visual and you're kind of lulled into reading it, and then you get to that and you're like, oh my god, did that just happen? Dante, I can't believe you've done that. So I would say we pick and choose what helps with the story and what we loved about the two stories, and sort of mashing them up and creating something brand new out of it. So for us, I had the story. I knew the story. I know where the story's going. I knew where it's going then. I know where it's going to end up. So taking those different elements and laying out the yellow bricks in the road, if you will.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. I mean, all the little nods. Just in these 6 issues, I've seen so many little nods to both stories, and I'm kind of a sucker for little Easter eggs and references to other things, and I just loved it all the way through. I was like, oh, there's one, and I just had a great time. So it's not only just a brand new story of Canto, it's also for people who are fans of Wizard of Oz and Dante's Inferno, it's just like, it's little things for those fans as well, and it's just great through and through.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to say as well, David, while you're here, the writing on this was, to me, absolutely amazing. There were parts in this where I literally kind of went, wow, inside. Some of the stuff you put in there is almost like prose. There are so many quotable lines in those 6 issues. It's amazing.
Gosh, I mean, how do you respond? Thank you. First of all, thank you. And second of all, that's kind of my outlook on comics generally, is I think too many try to be movies and TV. And the visuals absolutely have their place. The words have their place. And I think the best comics are the ones that marry both. Not too many words, and not, just not relying entirely on pictures, but bringing them together to tell a story that can only be told in comics. That's why, going back to the question about, well, would you like to see it as live action? Absolutely, but the story that unfolds might be the same beats that are in the comic, but it's going to feel and it's going to look different because it's a different, medium for it. So it makes me very happy to hear that the words and pictures sort of working together the way comics should be working and the way people should be, sort of making them.
Most definitely.
There's a couple of bits of the humor sort of hit me a little bit. It's with the two giants outside this.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I found myself laughing out loud a couple of times at it, and it was just the interactions with each other, and I didn't realize until a page or two in that they're actually fixed to the ground as well. So it was they did make me chuckle. Like, they were very, very good, very well drawn out, and they're only on for a couple of pages, but they have that impact.
Without spoil, I'm not gonna. If you haven't read the second Canto 2, I'm not going to spoil, but we got a lot of really nice feedback about the giants. So as you do, fans are, part of the storytelling process. So it's not the last time you'll see them. In fact, the newest side quest is Canto in the City of Giants. So if they didn't make an appearance, then we failed.
Speaking of humor as well, David, we got Andy here from Perpetual Comics saying Dino and David's shirt game is strong this evening. Tom's actually saying here he's actually going to read it to his 7-year-old at the weekend.
Love it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the best thing about the book. It's for all ages, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, my oldest kid's 4, so I'm not going to the 4-year-old because there are some kind of monstrous kind of the slavers and so on. But at 7 years of age, absolutely show them that book. It's fantastic.
Yeah, like kids can enjoy it, but grown-ups can as well, because there are things in there that kids aren't going to understand or get. So you don't feel like it's a children's book at all.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I found was the most cleverest thing about this book. Was that how many layers and levels this actually works on. You've got it there on an adult level, you've got it there on a show level, but then you've got all of these themes of hope and love and putting negative things out in the world and the consequences that has as opposed to putting love out into the world. Like your brain, David, like how it works, I have no idea.
I think especially when you get towards the end and it comes sort of full circle as well, how that all incorporates, because from the beginning of the story where you've got the side story of the knight going to rescue the princess, and then how that interacts, and then by the time you get to the end, obviously not saying anything yet because we'll come to that later, it's how that develops throughout it is so intricate.
Yeah. Was it hard to do, David, balance those things out when you were putting this together?
So, there's as far as the layers for all ages, that's really what we went for, is something that you could read at 10 years old, and then at 16 years old, and 25 years old, and at 40 years old, and you take something different from it every stage of your life, because everybody brings something different to stories when they read them. So we didn't want to pull any punches. So that there is slavery and there's some scary imagery and that sort of thing. But kids are so much more mature than we give them credit for as adults. So no sex, no violence, no swearing, and it really is not disqualifying for anybody. So with that said, we had a very clear idea of where the story was going to go in this first arc. Coming up with the idea of storytelling and then story of the night and how stories sometimes betray us was an exciting development in the creation process. And it was a framing story that the framing device that I ended up coming up with that ultimately, I don't want to spoil too much for the audience, but ultimately gave us the climax to Canto's story through the use of this fable that they've told each other to try to cling to some sort of hope in this world.
Fantastic.
Also, how do you take, like it starts off, you've got the slavers and they're enslaving the little TikTok people. And then you make us feel sorry for the slavers at the end because we find out their backstory. Like we go from hating them to feeling bad for them.
That was so. one approach I did to all of the characters was that I didn't want any of them to be single layer. I didn't want just a villain. I didn't want just a hero. Canto's probably the most single layer of them all because his motivation is so, naive courage through the whole book, and then he starts learning and he starts getting the depth of experience in the real world. But I never wanted the slavers to just be the slavers. So what kind of nuance can we give to them? And I'm not going to spoil it, but the idea being that you don't have to like them and you don't have to like what they've done, but at least take a moment to sort of understand why their poor choices have put them into the place where they are now. And at least that gives them some depth than just, we're just going to be slavers and we're just going to do this. And, I'm not going to. Honestly, that's one of the things that I love doing with Canto and all stories is revisiting things that we know or we have seen in earlier stories and adding to them and adding layers and just exploring them more. So just like we may encounter the giants again down the road, the slavers still have their part to play. They're gone now, but they still will have their part to play as the larger confrontation looms. And we'll see that.
So on that note then, as we're talking about spoilers and stuff there, and you saying parts to play further down the line, before we say goodbye to you then, David, and that you get on with your, I should imagine, busy day, do you want to tell us a bit about Canto 2? Because it's concluded this week, hasn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, to continue with the theme of visual aids, there you go. Canto 5 just came out today, and that completes the arc. And I guess we'll have to spoil the end of Canto 1 to talk about Canto 2.
That's okay. You're allowed spoilers here, David. You're okay.
Okay, so Canto goes on the quest in Canto 1 to find their hearts, and he reaches the end of his quest, and then stuff happens, and then you meet him in Canto 2, and they don't have their hearts. So I'll let you fill in the blanks as to what happens at the end of Canto 1. But they are in a new home called New Arcana, and they are going along. His people kind of seem complacent. Canto's trying to prep them for what he knows is coming with the confrontation with the Shrouded Man, and they're kind of like, well, we haven't heard from him for a long time, so we're okay, right? And then Canto gets some friends. We meet some. It's a mix between the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Sam, Frodo, Merry, and Pippin, I like to say. So he has some friends, but they discover that their clocks have been cursed to stop if they don't return to Arcana and back to slavery. And that explains why the Shrouded Man has not come for them, because he knows that if they're going to survive, they have to come back to him. And so Canto's next quest is, how does he lift the curse on all of his people? And you'll have to read on to figure out how that all happened.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. Do we know when we can expect a trade paperback or collected volume of that, David?
It's May. It's I think May 14th, something like that.
Excellent. Yeah. There you go, folks.
Around the corner. Yep.
Everyone be picking that. I'm pretty confident, seeing how this has gone this week, that we're probably going to be seeing Canto 2 on the Nerd Herd as well at some point, I should imagine.
Good.
Definitely.
David, I want to thank you for stopping by and saying hello to everyone. It's absolute pleasure and really awesome of you to come down and say hi to us in our little corner of the internet today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's great to meet you guys. And Shane, you can take down your color printed props behind you now.
Again, David, thank you very much for coming and talking to us. It's absolute pleasure.
Thanks, David.
Thank you,
Everybody, get your waves out for David.
Bye, David.
Bye, David. There we go, folks.
Wow.
What?
There we go.
Hey.
Yeah, that was a really nice surprise, and I think that's a testament to the kind of person David is as well. That he would come and hang out with a bunch of losers like us to just talk on the books. Yeah, what a
surprise today. I must admit.
I'm probably now going to read all of Canto in his voice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure how you're going to do that, but fair enough.
He does have that kind of unique voice, just like you do, Scott. That kind of like good reading voice, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just catch up with the comments then, folks, because we are behind here. So let me scroll back up. We've got Andy saying Sean is the same height as Canto. True story.
Not too far off, I must admit.
That's mean. Stop it. We got Firehawk saying the design of the Tin Men was great. Love this. Tom said the art style is brilliant. Love the book and feel of this. Really happy I had the time today to actually read it. Yeah, I think Tom blitzed through it all today. I think you proper hit it hard. So just scrolling down here. We are really far behind here.
Yeah, that's reading. I was reading. I was listening at the same time. I was reading all the comments. Like I can't keep up. It's just so long.
I do apologise, folks, for falling behind on your comments here. Canto has more layers than a BLT. There you go.
He's always on, isn't he? James is just always on.
Yes. And Andy saying, if we're getting creators on here, I'm picking a Spawn book. Good luck with that. So I think we're catching up there. I'm just briefly whizzing through. There we go. And Comic Dude saying Scott does have a voice and face for radio. There you go. That's a weird backhanded double-edged compliment right there, isn't it? All right then, folks. So let's resume the discussion, and we can get to our final thoughts. We're halfway through the show here. We usually try and keep it to an hour. So let's leave it on that camera there, folks. So I don't know who is going to go first, but Sean, you picked it. You go, mate. There's the ball. Run with it.
Artwork. Is that what we're starting off with?
Yeah, can do.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. From start to finish, right the way through it. Coloring, the layered of all the characters, Malarix, the Tin Men, Shrouded Man, the Knights, the lot. The whole thing was just beautiful to look at the whole way through it. And it wasn't too clunky, especially even when you got to the battle scenes, with legs of the Furies. It separated each individual when there's an attack happening, each individual panel for that. Yeah. So unlike some other comics where they try to put everything in one big, they sort of broke into chunks. So I found it very, very easy to follow because the artwork and it was very easy to follow. And like David said, it meant then that there wasn't too many, bits of dialogue throughout it. So for me, it was one of the better comics visually.
Yeah. We showed an example there of Shane's favorite page from the book. Let's show yours, Scott, because yours is quite a fantastic spread of a page. So this was Scott's favorite artwork in the book.
Can I say why?
Yeah, of course, man. Go.
So I think this was the one image for me that really was the biggest nod for like Dante's Inferno. It was like going through all these different layers. If for anyone who has read Dante's Inferno or hasn't, it's about this man called Dante essentially going through the 9 circles of hell in the name of love, pretty much. And this to me, it does that. It goes through all these different layers of through his travels and stuff. But it also, what I love about it is the fact that there is no writing here, and this literally is, for the term, a picture says 1,000 words, and each fifth of this page, there's this, you can tell your own little story from it, kind of thing, and I think this whole page was just fantastic. I probably spent about 5-10 minutes just looking at this page, and that's longer than I would spend on a page with actual words on it. I just loved it.
Yeah, it's a great set of panels there as well. We've got Firehawk saying, I think this was when you were talking there, Sean. Firehawk saying, I got lost in some of the fight scenes there. And Andy's replied, I got lost in David Booher's eyes. Easily done. Easily done.
The fight scenes were awesome as well, though. You know, the fact that they were able to use, was it 2 whole pages for one fight with each Fury, was brilliant. And the fact that they took the time and not just rushed through it, just gone bing bang bomb done. They actually kept the time, and it meant that the battle with the Furies is meaningful and worth something, and not just something just rush through next. It was an actual big fight for Canto, like.
Yeah, totally agree. Phil, Shane, how do you feel about the artwork?
It's better than Future State. I love it.
That's usually the answer for everything these days.
Is it better than Secret Wars?
Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved the art in this. Yeah, it was. I mean, the covers are great. As soon as you start looking at the covers, you know the insides are going to be great if they're half as good as the covers. And the character designs, fantastic. Every single one so different, but so. Even though they're so different, you could tell they all belong in that one world, if that makes sense. Like, so different and out there, but they fit together. The giants and the little TikToks, and I keep calling them TikToks. I know they're not TikToks. It's just because I've got the Oz vibe in my head.
It's a good description, though. So.
I think you're getting these characters confused with some online, social media thing where you act like an idiot. I think
I love the fight scenes with Canto because he's so small and he's trying so hard. You could just see, even though he doesn't have a heart, he's putting his heart in that fight. Like, he's trying his best in some of them, and he's tiny. You know, he doesn't stand a chance against some of these people. Yeah. And
sorry, Phil, go on.
I was going to say he's defiant. He knows he's small. He knows he's a wee tin man with no heart, and a ticking clock that's going to run out at some point. But he's got a quest to complete, and the fact that he stands up to pretty much everybody, regardless of their size, I love that. That was phenomenal.
I think it was Firehawk made a point earlier on in one of in the chat. He said that one of the good mediums for this would actually be a video game, and I agree with him, because if you think of the way the design and the layout of the comic itself, it would lend very well to a video game.
I said as well when we were talking about animation and stuff like that. When I read this, all I could envision really was a stop motion animation. Like, I think this would look amazing as a stop motion animation film.
Nightmare Before Christmas style.
The thing is too, like, I mean, we talk about the art and stuff, like the palette, like the colors, like all the pinks and the purples, and kind of then you have the greens pop out from that. I just thought it just visually looked fantastic. It looked awesome. There wasn't actually a page that I could say that was a bit ropey, because it was all like the art fit the story, if you know what I mean. It's a perfect craft of a book.
Yeah, it reminded me very much of, like, those kind of the fairy tale images, usually, like the Brothers Grimm, Switzerland, kind of somewhere with the mountains, and as far as fairy tale ambience goes, this nailed it for me, completely. I do have one criticism. I know we're gushing all over it though, and this is a personal one for me. Is I always struggle, and I know that this is my issue, no one else's, with small panels. Like, I just think, like, for me, they're just not for me, small panels. And there's quite a lot of small action sequences in this. But you know me, guys, like, I get lost very easy when artwork kind of jumps around a little bit too much and stuff, so that's just a personal preference of mine. But that didn't take anything away from the book for me at all.
The small panels were all things like if he tripped over something, was he tripped over a rock? They're almost like explaining the motion, wasn't it? Pretty much. That was they were the small panels, weren't they?
Like, and that it reminded me very much of, like in cartoons as well, when you have that, when there's kind of like somebody kind of whacks something, and you get that like little encapsulated box pop up that gives you a close up. It was very much reminiscent of that, I think.
It's just little panels for little actions.
Yeah, I just don't like little panels. I think I struggle with them in general, no matter what book they're in or where they're going wrong. I don't know where it is. I'm old, guy. My eyes aren't what they used to be, man. I can't be squinting at little panels.
We got
We got Liam here saying, I loved Canto's Malarex. I don't think I've read a comic where a character's actions has made me make audible noises while reading. It's just a shame Canto didn't gift his Malarex a name. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he didn't, did he?
David Booher now just writing stuff down.
Yeah, David, get the ideas pad out. Yeah, I think the art was. It sounds to me like we didn't really have much of a issue or anything there to criticize really with the artwork.
My only little thing, and I think this is just me just being a bit dumb, but I think well, before I read the story, whenever I'd seen pictures of Canto and everything around, and I honestly thought he was like this little like knighted duck because of the way his helmet is and the color of it. It's like the same color as a beak, and it's got the same shape as a beak when it's head on. But then when I read it, it obviously isn't. But that's and then so it took me a while to shake that off.
I took that to mean because I thought it looked like fire, not a duck bill to me. Like inside the grill, it kind of looked like something's glowing inside those little people.
Yeah,
it was this warmth. He's a lovely, warm-hearted kind of tin TikTok. There was this warmth that was shining through.
Is that why you glow, Phil? Is that?
That's why I glow.
Okay, so we've had the writer on here. Let's talk about the writing. Let's see what we think about the writing. We've heard David tell us all about Canto and where the ideas and stuff came from. What did we think of it?
Better than King, right?
That's setting the bar quite low, I think.
It was like some bits were short and sweet, but that's all it needed to be because that's the kind of character Canto is. He is a very, he's just a determined guy. He knows what he wants. I'm gonna get it. He asks his questions, he gets his answers, and off he goes. And that was just the nice thing. I think I found it made him very endearing.
For me, the writing in this, I'll go back to what I said when David was on, and I wanted to say it while he was here because I really did want him to know that. And this, to me, the writing, there were moments in this that were absolutely amazing. There are so many quotable lines in this. The panel that I chose to show was this one, and I think not only is the artwork great in that kind of shadowing of the night. From the tail behind him, and then him being brave and marching out. But that you might not be able to see if you're reading that on the phone. But it says his fears were only dreams of everything that could be. What a great line that is! That is like poetry. That's not stuff you usually find in a comic book, man.
Yeah, definitely not. Great. I think whenever I was saying earlier about sort of with things coming full circle, when it gets sort of towards the end. And for anybody who's not read it, sorry, it's a bit of a spoiler alert. But whenever you see the Shrouded Man, he's suddenly taking the dark side of things. Because he's got there to try and rescue the princess. Princess isn't there. He loses basically his mind and his belief. Canto gets there and is positioned to the same sort of thing. He realizes he's not going to get the hearts. He's now faced with the same sort of choice. But rather than go down the dark route, he goes down almost like Star Wars, goes down the light route instead. Yeah. And sort of, that. And I think just to get from this, like from the start to the end, where it starts off with the night story, then goes to the slavery, and then sort of as you go along throughout it, it's the development throughout it that just the story.
That development for me was the thing that kind of driven this home. At the beginning, it's there, and you're kind of like, wow, all right, it's there. This is very much a story about, as I said earlier, being brave in a big world and in the face of doubt and fear, and kind of it forces the message that like in love you can find courage to do these, to be brave in a dark world and stuff. But then when you get to the end, it's almost, you find out that not only does it break your heart, let's be honest, I mean, it does. Like if you haven't got a little tear, I teared up. Yeah, if you haven't got something going on here, you're dead inside, man. But right at the end there, it's also a story about not giving up. That it's enough to just try in the world. You may never succeed, but the fact that you tried is good enough. And I loved that, honestly. That was the thing that I was loving this, but then I got to that message at the end and I just was blown away by that. I mean, one of my favorite books as a kid was that, I can't remember the title of it. How bad is that now? It was a Dr. Seuss book, and it was The Places You'll Go. And that is all about kind of like, sometimes you'll be in a bad space, sometimes you'll be in a good place, but it's the journey and the fact that you will be experiencing these things. That is the amazing thing. I got very much the same warmth from that I did from this.
Yeah.
I love the way when Sean was saying the knight kind of went down the dark path and became the shrouded man and so on, where Canto essentially didn't fulfill his quest that he wanted to do, but he inspired all the little TikToks. The time he was brought home when he woke up, they kind of overthrown their rulers and such, and they were
That's
free.
the only issue I had with the book. It just built and built, and then it just dropped off at the end. Everything at the end was just, oh, by the way. It was, by the way, you died. By the way, we brought you back. By the way, we freed ourselves. And by the way, your girlfriend's dead. Next volume. Everything was just literally just matter of fact.
I'll be honest, I didn't feel like that. I felt we had the heartbreak there, and I can see what you mean, as in the pacing seemed to shift a little bit, but after that heartbreak moment, which I think was the big crescendo there, it's that bittersweet pill, I think, that was put in there. And I think if it was just, oh, well, she's dead, and we had something else build from that, I don't think it would have been as impactful, having that bittersweet moment of that he lost the love of his life, yet his people became free. I kind of liked that. Like, I really did. I didn't feel like it was an after fact or anything.
No, I just felt like it was just there. It was just, he wakes up and they just give him the points of what's been happening since he's been gone.
So do you think that was maybe a bit rushed then for you, that bit? You would have liked that maybe?
Yeah, there was a massive build up and then it just went at the end for me. I think if you're going to do something as big as free them from their slavers, I think you could warrant a single page at least to show us them.
I think, though, if you sort of look at the book as a whole, all six, it's all told from Canto's perspective, though. So if he's unconscious, he's not going to know. So if it's him telling the story, then that would explain why it's cut off.
Yeah.
Because he's the one who whenever he was telling the story to his girlfriend and the female TikTok, there's no end of the story of the night, and they said we'll make her up her own story. So this was his story, I suppose. You're right there, Sean.
Yeah, that was
Amy's just saying here as well, the panels that are dark with just Canto and his love talking were beautiful. Didn't need any pictures. You can see what's happening in your mind, and it's just so heartbreaking but beautifully done. I think you articulated that very well, Amy, to be honest.
Yeah, well done.
The part whenever they're like, we'll create an ending for herself, and he's like, promise.
Stop it, please.
I struggled. Like, yeah. Oh, man. That was...
you don't want to see something this cute go through pain. It's like watching a puppy get kicked. You don't want to see it.
Totally.
But even the thought of like, as love kind of dying whenever he wasn't there, like he wasn't there in her final moments, and that's another heartbreaking part as well. Like he wasn't there as she was. Well, she didn't go to the furnaces, but she went and she got buried and stuff in the woods. But oh man, it was just so sad.
What made it even more, just like an extra kick in the heart there as well for me, was he has the stone there, doesn't it? Like her favorite stone and stuff. Like you're just like, come on, you're just kicking me while I'm down there. Stop, you know.
It's a heart shaped stone. All the other ones aren't heart shaped. That one's heart shaped.
Yeah.
I can't, man.
Because as soon as I started reading, I felt like this was set in the Wizard of Oz world. I felt like it was set on Oz, and it was like happening in another place. When he comes to the city of Daz, and the woman shows up, I did think that was going to be Dorothy Gale. I know, like it wasn't, but I was like, "Is that going to be Dorothy? Like, is this a side quest that Dorothy did while she was traveling the Yellow Brick Road?" I thought that would have been. Obviously, it's not, because it's not Oz.
Dorothy Gale Gadot.
Hang on, can I just say as well, because we've got Firehawk is leaving us now. He says, I got to run, go, see you later. But he's thrown his score in here early as well, so he's putting in the 10. And I also got a score from Lee from the Retro Cave, who couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to be, but he said, please, take my score along and count it in there.
I think Andy also has given an early score somewhere up in the chat as well.
He's still here. He can put that in again as well. So hang on, just back to what Shane was saying there, because I got sidetracked then trying to keep up with the chat. So you're saying, Shane, that you found that the Wizard of Oz reference is a little bit not to your taste.
Oh no, I loved it.
Oh, you did? Oh, I was going to
no,
say,
yeah,
because Scott, you liked the Wizard of Oz nods and stuff, didn't you?
I'm
You
a
were
big
saying?
reference boy, me.
Yeah, no, I was reading this as a Wizard of Oz tie-in. Like this, for me, this could happen at the exact same time as Wizard of Oz is happening. He could walk past Dorothy on the yellow brick road, be like, "All right, love, bye," and I wouldn't bat an eyelid. It would fit perfectly.
Do you know what else I kind of liked about this as well? When he confronts the shrouded man there at the end, you know, like I said, this is very much that story of being brave in the world and stuff, isn't it? And being courageous and how hard the world pushes back sometimes. And I suppose you do get the message of, like, you know, we can all feel small in the world sometimes, you know, and frightened. But when he gets to that shrouded man, he confronts it, you can kind of see that the message there is kind of like, don't let it make you become too bitter, you know, don't let your failures, you know, get the better of you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just every step there for me. This was just full of great prose, as in the way that it was worded, and great messages for me. And like you say, those little nods and stuff, I don't think I noticed them as much as you guys did. I'll be honest with you.
I think it's because.
Go on.
Sorry, I think it's because I'm such a big fan of, like, the Divine Comedy poem, the Dante's Inferno stuff as well, that I was, as soon as I found out that there was references to it, I was like, yeah, so that's all I would look for. And it was either me just making up myself, or hopefully I did notice the actual references.
No, I got the Dante's Inferno because I've read that myself, you know, many years ago now. But it was the Wizard of Oz stuff I didn't really pick up on all that much. I did clock the Yellow Brick Road, as you mentioned, Shane. I did spot that. But
And going to the Emerald Tower.
See, I never thought about that either. But yeah, you're right. But yeah, I see a lot of that I was oblivious to. I really didn't pick up on a lot of it.
See what you're saying about, like, the messages within the story. We all know that sometimes comic books can almost force it onto you, if you know what I mean. Where this wasn't like force; it was just like reminding you these things are out there. These messages and wholesome messages are there for all of us, and it wasn't like in your face. It was just
It's worth mentioning to folks, if you haven't read this, I think there's two things to point out. One thing is the one thing Phil's saying there is that this doesn't force anything on you. This almost gently just takes your hand and shows you that, you know, love and hope and all of that are the better things in the world and are the answer to two things. And I think the second thing is, you know, this is something you can share with your kids. And I just want to put that out there again, because we read a lot of stuff on here where we say, oh, don't share this with your kids. Don't leave it on your coffee table. This one is a must. I think you have to share this with your children. It is. It works on those levels so well.
Yeah, my little girl will love this in a couple of years. She's 5 at the moment, so she will absolutely adore this. You know, it's anything to do with, you know, knights, bravery, princesses, and, you know, that sort of thing. She will love this. I absolutely love it. And it's so easy to follow for kids as well, reading it, which was one of the points that you did before it would be. Yeah, I think it's again, that's why I had to ask David that question earlier, because I don't know. It must be so tricky when you're writing, you know, as somebody who would love to be a writer one day, to balance all of those layers has got to be a very, very hard thing to do. You know, and that's what I think a testament to this book is, that, you know, it's not just a great story. It is very clever, the way that it is all put together, in my opinion.
And there's still so much left to explore. Like, I forget her name. The woman, is it Alora?
Yeah, and then Laura. Yeah, Alora.
There's still so much of her to unravel, I'm sure, maybe in Canto 2 and the side quest, but maybe we'll find out more. There's just so much more layers to add on top of what we have already.
Yeah, let me just say a quick hello to Bill here from Comic Mag Musings joining us. Hello, Bill. I hope you're well, mate. And like Phil just said, there is loads more to do. And I will say as well, because we obviously we've read this week Volume 1. We know that Volume 2's just concluded there as well. But there is a standalone issue that goes in between the two volumes as well for people interested.
The Clockwork Fairies. I can't remember the full title. That's a one shot.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, you might want to check that out, folks, as well. If you're thinking of going for Volume 2, there's that little thing in the middle there as well. Okay, folks, is there anything? No, we actually, before we do wrap up, Phil, you've not talked about your chosen panel, my friend.
Oh, okay, cool. Stick it on.
There we go.
it's not even to do with the art. It's the fact that, I mean, he's just being kind of warned of the dangers that lay ahead of him on his quest. He's been kind of half trained, if you know what I mean. He wasn't really, and then he's still willing to go on his quest because he's like, it's just the defiance of this scene. Like, he's leaving the elder, the person who has all the wisdom, and he knows what's ahead of him, and he's going to do it anyway, regardless. And then is it the Malarex? He just looks like he's going to conquer the world. This little small tin man is going to conquer the world.
I think that's his "we're going on an adventure" moment, isn't it? Yeah. I think that in that panel. Yeah.
Love that.
I really liked his interaction with the hermit. He's like, "You're not like the other slavers," and she's like, "You're not like the other slaves." I just thought that was really good. Mic drop.
And like when you asked David about, you know, him getting us to feel sorry for the people that we originally thought were, you know, evil people and stuff. Again, I think this book is it has empathy coming out of its ears. This book does. And it's very much a kind of, you know, don't judge somebody unless you've walked in their shoes kind of thing, isn't it? You know, like it is that. It's another message in this book, you know. All right, folks, I think, is there anything else anybody wants to say about Canto before we get to doing our final thoughts and scores?
No.
We are ready then, right? That means, hang on, we're not ready until...
Glasses on.
Yeah, boys. Now we mean business.
They look different.
No, I've got 2 pairs, man. I've got literally glasses in every room of the house because I keep like putting them down and like not realizing where I put them. I'm terrible, man. Okay, Sean, you picked the book, mate. So let's hear your final thoughts and scores first, mate.
For me, this is probably as perfect a comic book as you're going to get. It's beautiful throughout it, both in the storytelling, the art, the way it's presented, the lot. So for me, I can't give it any less than a 10. I can't. I actually read and reread this about 3 or 4 times, and just to try and find a fault, and I couldn't. I loved it that much, you know. So for me, I can't give it less than a 10. Has to be.
It's a 10 from Sean. Yeah, we need a klaxon to go off. We need some sort of kind of like some sort of VT video to play or something when someone gives it a 10. Scott, how about yourself, mate? Before we get to you, Scott, everyone in the chat, if you've read Canto, drop your scores while we're doing our final thoughts, and I'll make sure we total all yours up, and we'll see what you guys thought of it as well. Scott, over to you.
What a guy! Am I right? Like he is an absolutely cute, endearing, like hopeful guy that you're just rooting for all the time. You know, it shows that you don't need a heart to have a lot of heart. You know what I mean? And it's just
nice.
I just can't, like, it was just lovely. It was endearing. It was written and drawn elegantly. The fact that they had so many pages and panels without any words, but still conveyed such a big story within those panels was amazing. I loved it. There's all these different nods to Wizard of Oz and Dante's Inferno, and I think the one thing I wanted to put into it was, you know, when David earlier said about you could read it in any age and you'll get something different from that. And, you know, I think that definitely conveys no matter what stage of life you're at, you can just pick up this book, whatever you're feeling. If you're happy, you're sad, you're reading it to someone else, you will get something different out of it most times. And I think that is brilliant. And it's just wonderful. That's the way I can explain it. It's just wonderful with a bit of twinkly around it, and it's a 10, boys.
Well done.
Okay, Shay, over to you, mate.
So, I mean, the art's fantastic, flawless. But if you put a gun to my head and told me to find something wrong with it, I probably couldn't. It's beautiful throughout all 6 issues, all the covers. Story, really, really good. Like you say, it's heartfelt, it's funny, it's thrilling, it's everything you want in a story. There are a few little things that don't work for me personally, but that's me personally. Not every book is going to be for everyone. That's impossible. But I really did enjoy this. I won't go back and read it again. That's that's not saying this is a bad book at all. It's just I will read the next ones, but this isn't a book I'm going to go back and read. But I really enjoyed it. I know that's weird to say that I'm not going to read it again, but I really enjoyed it. But yeah, with Sean saying how when I said about the ending felt rushed and a bit of a blur, and Sean saying it's all from Canto's perspective, I didn't actually realise that you don't see any scene without Canto in it. Now I'm thinking back. So the ending makes a bit more sense. So I'm going to give it an extra point now for that. So well done, Sean. So for me, it's an 8.5.
It's an 8.5 from Shane. You know what time it is, folks. It's time for Phil the Money.
Money,
let's go, Phil.
Money. Okay. I can't add anything else more than it's been added. I mean, wonderful with a bit of twinkle. I mean, what can you add to that? I actually...
That's the tagline for the next volume.
Yeah, I actually texted Sean last week and said, Sean, this is the score I'm giving it, but I'm going to reread it to try and be extra critical. I need to be extra critical because I can't score that. And I tried to be critical, and I couldn't. I couldn't find anything wrong. Like, even if there was parts of it that like didn't visually appeal, or there was something I thought wrong, I just felt sucked into the story. Into it, like it's just, and for some reason in my mind, like we're all the kind of age now where we've all watched like the Goonies, the movie The Goonies, and it stands for so long.
Not me, I'm far too young for that kind of thing.
Well, but I just think that this will last for years. I think just as the Goonies has lasted for years in movies, this will last for years in comics. And I will read it again, and I'll read it to my kids, and then they'll read it themselves as they get older. And yeah, loved it. Art fantastic, story fantastic. And it's not just because David was on the show. And David's now my new best friend. It's not because of that. But I am giving this a 10 because I can't pick anything from it.
There we go, folks. It's a 10 from the money. We'll just whiz through everybody's scores here as well. For those not here, Lee, as I said, Lee from the Retro Cave did put in his score, and he gave it an 8.5, same as you, Shane. So that was Lee. Firehawk left us, but he said it was a 10 from him. So we've had a 10 from Firehawk there. I'm just scrolling down the comments now, just so we can see. We got a 10 out of 10 for Amy. I absolutely love this book. First one that's actually made me cry. It's a huge 10 out of 10 from me.
Amy's a tough cookie as well.
Yeah,
that was last week. You would cry.
We have an 11 from Andy from Perpetual Comics. Tom has given this a 10 out of 10 as well. He says, have to give this book 10 out of 10. Fantastic artwork. Story is brilliant. So much so I bought the trade paperback for 1 and have trade paperback 2 on order and put 3 on my pool list. There you go. Have we got any more? Liam here is saying, honestly, I never thought I'd give a 10 out of 10. And Scott will tell you how critical I could be of things. But Canto is just wow. It has to be 10 out of 10.
Just another point on what Amy was saying about crying. Like, I've only ever cried at 2 books. One of them was Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #6 by Tom Taylor. And the other one is Canto. That's the only 2 books. I'm a big fella. I haven't cried. I just kind of, wee bit.
You sobbed.
You well done.
Yeah,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. So that's the scores that we've got in the chat there. Bill saying, I haven't read it, so no score from me. Come on, Bill, you got to jump on this one. It's
just give it a 10.
Worth it.
just say 10.
So for me, for my final thought and scores, I'll just recap what I said. I thought that the writing in this book is unique. It's not just great, it's unique, to be honest, because this does kind of read like prose from a poem at certain points, and that is very rare in a book. And I love the themes. I absolutely adored the themes in this. To have that many layers and then have those layers work on across different generations of ages as well is a beautiful and tricky thing to do. I think as a writer and an artist as well. I think, like Drew must have had his work cut out there as well to ensure that all of this emotion and cuteness and heart was delivered onto a page. And I think he did it. They both did for me. Like I said, I did have the one little criticism about them small panels, but that is just me. I know that is just me. Like, I know that to everyone else, it's not a big deal. It's me just being a whiny bitch. I get it. Like, I understand that. Like,
you said it.
But yeah, I can't help but just, I can't understand why people wouldn't like this book. That's how good this is to me. And so for me, it's a 9.5. It's a 9.5. This is almost perfect to me. I personally struggle, like for me, finding the perfect book is a kind of like an endless quest. But my God, is this up there? This is up there. This is millimeters away for me.
Yeah, the way I scored was I compared it against the best book that I'd read up to that point, which was The White Knight, and it eclipsed it. And I was just like, right, well, if it's going to eclipse The White Knight, then yeah.
There we go.
It's far.
So there you go. That's our scores then, folks. So let's have a look and see what the average of those scores are. So all the guys participating in this episode, you guys watching live right now, you have given this an average of a 9.7 out of 10. Woo! Wow, man. Wow. And we on the Nerd Herd here on the screen are giving this a 9.6.
Wow. Well, that takes top spot, does it?
That's like...
So let's call it the leaderboard and have a look where it falls on the leaderboard. It's top spot.
Hey.
Canto has taken the top spot.
I honestly did not see anything beating Harleen. No.
Yeah, no. I think this only beat because we had the writer on.
No, get out of town. Like
I say,
no. This is a great book. I'm not saying this isn't a great book. This is not Harleen great.
I disagree. For me, I think this falls where it should have felt, in my opinion. I love the Harleen book, I really do, but this beats it hands down. Yeah.
Shane, don't be so upset. Harleen's still pretty high score. We both still give it a 10.
Fix.
But I honestly didn't see. I never thought something would top Harleen because I scored that a 10, and Shane, you scored that a 10, and I didn't think anything would top that. But this reigns supreme. Canto is on top of the world.
Hey, and that's Shane, you might be unhappy, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, mate. That is the average of all of our scores. Like me with Thor, like I thought you were all really mean to that book.
and like Phil with Maximum Carnage.
Maximum Carnage should be top spot. Let's be honest, Maximum Carnage should be number one. It should be number one.
Oh, we got a comment here now. Look, Amy saying Sassy Shane is back. There you go. And we've got Andy here saying no one remembers second place. Where's Pulp again? Hey, don't be knocking Pulp. That's also another great book, man. That is also another great book. So there we go, folks. That was our discussion about Canto from IDW in 2001. Again, I'd like to say a big thank you to David for coming and hanging out with us as well. That was awesome of him to come and do that. So next week,
doing more Canto. Thank him for doing more Canto because we obviously want to read more. So
totally agree with that. Totally agree with that, mate. Totally agree. So next week, folks, we are going to be reading Thor, God of Thunder, and we're going to be reading The God Butcher, which I believe is the first 6 issues of this series that contains the story arc for The God Butcher. So that's Thor, God of Thunder from Marvel in 2012.
I'm currently conversing with Jason Aaron, so fingers crossed we get Jason Aaron on next week.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, buddy. Not going to. You can keep crossing them fingers.
So
I think I'm more looking forward to what you're going to have on the green screen next week. Now, you do realize people listening on the podcasts on like iTunes, they can't see that.
I just do it for myself. I don't do it for anyone else but myself.
So there we go, folks. That's what we're reading next week. That is Thor, God of Thunder, and it's the first 6 issues which contains the God Butcher story. And we picked this one because we know that Christian Bale is going to be Gore the God Butcher, isn't he? apparently in that. Is it in the Thor movie?
Welsh represented.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the fourth. Is it
Love and
fourth one?
Thunder.
Love
Love and
and
Thunder,
Thunder.
it's called it, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy in it as well.
So there you go. So,
James has got it right nailed on the head there. That's why I've got the green screen on, because I haven't cleaned up behind me. That's genuinely true, yeah.
right then, so we better let you go and do your tidying up then, mate. I think that brings us to a close. So before we go, let's just have a quick whiz around. Let's keep it brief of what we've got going on the channels here. Let's go this way this time. Phil, what you got going on this week?
I was hoping today, but more likely going to be tomorrow. I'm going to have Flog episode number 2 up, just to get a bit of an update on my Nerd Cave build. Then after that, on Friday, I'm appearing with you, Dean. We're going to be on Tom's channel this month in movies, where we will be talking about the 1982 classic, Quest for Fire. So that's what I got coming up for the next week.
Nice. Shane?
I have more future state books to read. Wonder Woman issue 2 came out today. I'm having a great time. I don't know why I challenged myself to read every issue of Future State in January.
I've ordered a bunch because of your videos. Because of your videos, I've ordered a pile of books.
You've ordered the not terrible ones, I hope.
Yeah, the not terrible ones.
the 2 not terrible ones out of all of them.
Sean, what have you got going on this week, mate?
On Saturday, I've got Panels and Pints at 9:30 with Perpetual Comics and Comic Deal on Comic Deal's channel, so please tune in for that. We've got Ben Crampton coming on with us. It should be, we've introduced a few new segments to this, so it should be interesting. Anybody who knows Comic Deal will know how on my toes he likes to keep us. We'll see.
Awesome. There we go. That's what's going on there for Sean. I just want to say a quick hello to Whack Comics that's joined us as well. How you doing, mate? Scott, that brings us to you, buddy. What you got going on?
I'm still riding high from Saturday, to be honest. I got nothing coming up but like this week. But, you know, at the end of the month, there'll be the next episode of Comic Airways. But the first episode was amazing. I think everyone here, you all watched it and you said you had a good time. So for anyone who hasn't seen it that wants to have a good laugh, it's comic based, but it's ish. You know, it's not like mega comic, but it's not like no comics at all. It's good medium. It's fun for everyone. So just go ahead, go on my channel. It's Comic Airwaves episode 1. Go and watch that. It's fantastic.
There we go, folks. There we go. That's what's going on with our channels. As for me, as Phil said, I'll be on This Month in Movies on Friday discussing Quest for Fire. I've not watched it yet, I will confess. I'm planning on doing that Thursday. And as for that, you will find me here for the next episode. So on that note then, folks, we'll see you next week for Thor, the God Butcher. And we'll sign off in our usual and special way, the way we've always done, by saying, get your waves out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.